Welcome everyone to the 6-Fight Post-Fight Show with me, Zane Simon, and my co-host Eddie Mercado. We are here right after, in the aftermath of UFC on Fox 28, UFC Orlando, UFC Josh Emmett, Jeremy Stephens, and Josh Emmett, the latest dude to find out that you don't beat Jeremy Stephens by throwing power hooks at him all night.
Nope, you definitely don't. That's like the exact opposite way to beat Jeremy Stephens, actually. But when you find success early in the first round, I mean,
yeah,
the confidence goes through the roof, and you know that's what happens. So.
Yeah, why change a game plan that almost worked?
Yeah,
it worked for him up to that point, but
and like actually got him to this position in the first place.
Yep, but he found out why you change it. Of course, a big thing is that fight ends on pretty controversial note with Jeremy Stephens landing 2 hard elbows that looked like they were right to the back of the head, and then an illegal knee to the head while Emmett was on the ground, and then the huge follow-up punches that eventually put him away. I don't know that any of the elbows or knee, and I don't think any of the elbows or knee were responsible for Emmett getting knocked out. They weren't what hurt him in the first place, and they weren't what knocked him out cold in the end. But
they definitely weren't. They didn't help. That's for damn.
They sure as shit didn't help. The thing, of course, being stupid here is that there's a whole ton of people who I think must be just amazingly willfully blind out there saying that knee didn't land to Emmett's head. And like, you watch it in slow motion and you can clearly see the knee like hits off his head, comes up, goes down, and hits his head again. And people are like, oh, his head didn't move. It's like, yeah, he's got his fucking hands on his head holding it in place while he's fucking kneeing it.
Yeah.
You know?
It actually landed twice. Like Joel Romero, when Romero knocked out Chris Weidman, except that was legal, kind of how the knee recoiled back and actually landed twice.
And like I say, I don't think it matters. I don't think that's why Emmett lost. I don't think it had anything to do with the end result. And there's no way that Emmett will get this overturned successfully. But he should try. He should try to get a no contest out of it.
We've seen shit like that happen before, though. Like Adam Milstead, his fight with Curtis Blades, that somehow got changed to a no contest. Which I just interviewed the dude, and that was the one question I really wanted to ask, and I just forgot to ask it.
I think that was pot, though. Maybe that might have been. That might have been Curtis Blades failing a drug test for pot.
Oh, wow! Yikes! I didn't know that.
I think that may have been what happened in that one. The other thing would have been Francimar Barbosa versus that British dude he fought, whose name I'm not remembering right now. But he headbutted him in like that hurt Barbosa, and then he was covering up, and the dude was flurrying on him, and they called the fight off, and then the Brazilian Athletic Commission actually overturned it to a no contest.
You were right about Blades in the ganja.
Yeah. We've seen it has happened a couple times, but like the Brazilian Commission is really comfortable with how they run their own show, and they're actually honestly a little more willing to take action than a lot of other commissions.
Yeah.
Because they're like a national government organization. And in the US, like there's no way the Florida Athletic Commission is gonna be like going in and working against the interests of their own referees and all that. It's just not going to happen.
No, definitely not and he's not a hometown guy. He like lives on the other side of the country. Tough loss for Emmett. This is a huge, I know he had a lot of naysayers coming into this, questioning the legitimacy of his ranking. Understandable, with really only one really big win under his belt. And this really doesn't do a lot for him in that respects. It kind of,
like there's a reason that Stephens has been the kind of dude who continually tests whether or not you're among the elite in his division, and it's because you got to fight safe, you got to fight smart. All fight against him. Even Max Holloway, guys like Max Holloway and Frankie Edgar stayed way outside and just picked Stephens off and made him pay.
Moicano stayed on the outside too.
They've all made Stephens just pay for being kind of foot slow and a lot of times resorting to just big, predictable, wild hooks that he shows. And, Emmett did that a little. He picked Stephens off pretty well and won the first round handily doing that. But
that's exactly what he did in the first round. But when you drop someone, you really, game plan kind of goes out the window a little bit. Not for everyone, but if you haven't been there before.
Yeah, and it's also just one of those things. Like this was my concern going in. It's my concern coming out that Emmett is almost entirely a head hunting, power hook throwing fighter, and that's all he does. Like he feints it, he mixes it up really well. He uses both hands, leads with his left and his right equally well. He can fight going backwards. He can fight going forwards. He works at a high volume. He's got great cardio. That's all awesome, but he's only throwing the same shots to the same place, and eventually, against really elite fighters, they're going to key in on that kind of thing.
Yeah. And it's like he was so close too. But yeah. I mean, I think the simple fact that he did drop Stevens early there in the first shows he's definitely a top 10 fighter. He's a top 10 featherweight.
He's definitely at least in the conversation of the top 15,
Yeah. It's just, man, that was a brutal loss. Like, Jeremy Stevens went full savage there. You're never supposed to go full savage. He went full savage.
Yeah, and fortunately for Emmett, I mean, I kind of think too, like at his age, with his, with a big camp behind him and all that, they probably don't need to slow play him. Like it's not the kind of thing where it's like, oh, that was a hard loss, and you should bounce back and like get a soft touch fight after that. If he can fight somebody like Miles Jury or, Michael Johnson, even like, there are other fighters who are right around that top 10 level,
Michael
top 15
Johnson,
level.
Is he at featherweight now?
Yeah, he dropped down. He lost that fight to Darren Elkins, where he came out and whipped Elkins for a round and then got choked out in like the most stereotypical version of both of their fights that they could possibly have.
Honestly, I think the best idea is just to give him a rematch with Lamas and let him make weight this time and see what happens then.
Yeah, that's not a bad fight to make too, because Lamas is always an opportunist, but he's got holes in his kickboxing that Emmett was able to exploit, and if he can do it twice, good on him.
Yeah.
For Stevens, this is like this win is good, and it matches up nicely with his win over Doo Ho Choi. It puts him on a bit of a run, but it's also the kind of thing where it's just like, man, we have seen you fight literally everybody, and
Darren Elkins, where you at, Darren Elkins?
Yeah, actually, that probably makes. Well, they've already fought though. He already beat Darren Elkins.
But when was that?
It was a while ago.
2014.
But it was still in Darren Elkins' featherweight run. Like it's since Darren Elkins dropped to featherweight, and I don't know that. I mean, Darren Elkins is a little better now, but he's
a
not
lot better now.
Okay,
and that's 4 years ago.
Okay,
that needs to happen.
Maybe
it's like, you're the hardest hitter at featherweight. Let's see you take out the damage.
Here you go. I would also be happy to see him take on Cub Swanson again, considering that he broke his hand early in that fight with Swanson, where he was doing pretty well, and then broke his hand, and then everything just kind of fell apart after that. So.
I love everything about that fight. Everything about
it. In the co-main event, Jessica Andrade beat Tisha Torres, and it's really hard to see that fight and not think that Andrade, like right now, the top of the women's strawweight division is really just a three-way tie for the best woman in the world. Like, I would pick Andrade against Rose Namajunas right now. I don't know that she'll ever beat Joanna with that style and her ability to play the matador and fight off the back foot. But, like, Namajunas squeaked by Tisha Torres twice. Or actually lost to her once and then squeaked by her the second time.
But I feel like it's a stylistic thing, though. I think Rose is really.
I think Andrade is a much worse stylistic matchup for Andrade. I think Andrade is a much worse stylistic matchup for Rose than Joanna has been, apparently.
Yeah, I think Rose is good at being a matador, and I think she can do what Tisha did early in the first, but just a little more effectively. With a little more.
Have we ever seen Rose Namajunas be the matador though? When was that?
What she did to JJ is
he came out and pressured her and just landed on her hard over and over. Like she was the one walking forward there.
But she's not pushing Andrade back. And I honestly believe like her counter punching and her accuracy is going to give her, if Torres is landing like she was early in that fight, I don't see any reason why Namajunas can't do more, have even more success with it and actually do some damage. Because
maybe we'll see.
Torres landed so many counter punches early, a lot of right hands early in the first, but
he did.
They didn't do much damage, you know.
Torres is also really fast. I think she's faster even than Nami Yunus, which allows for that.
She is fast. I mean, that was really the key to her first round there is she was able to be quicker. She was able to fight going backwards. And as soon as Andrade realized that, hey, she could just toss Torres around, Andrade switched up her game plan. It was like, I don't need to throw these crazy blitzing flurries. I can just grab a hold of her, pick her up, and slam her down and make her work from there. And really, outside of a couple submission attempts, Torres was pretty defensive for the rest of the fight there, for the second half of the fight.
Yeah, she once Andrade started to break down the physical, like really impose her physicality on the game. I think Torres, it became a lot more clear for Torres. You know, it's the thing where she kept catching Andrade off guard with her speed, jumping in with those right hands. Andrade's just like, well, okay, if you jump in on me, I'll just grab you and throw you down. And at that point, it kind of breaks your game. It's like, well, like now do I have to wait to counter somebody who's going to be stepping in, throwing harder than I am? That's not a good plan. So,
yeah, great win for Andrade. She solidified herself as next in line. Unless JJ wins, I think the trilogy needs to happen. Yeah. But otherwise, I think Andrade deserves another shot.
I mean, Andrade versus Nami Yunus is a fight I have to see happen, and I would give Andrade a very good chance of winning it, honestly.
I mean, Andrade has a good chance of winning against anyone. I think even against JJ, going in, she had a great chance. But JJ was just the kryptonite.
Yeah, like that's obviously a terrible matchup for her, but especially thinking of how Kowalkiewicz was able to turn like clinch exchanges into really punishing Nami Yunus. I think it could be a brutal physical fight for Nami Yunus to go through.
It's compelling.
It's yeah. So great win for Andrade. I really love seeing her set up as the other, like clearly at the very least, the third best woman in the world who is head and shoulders above the competition. Now if she's taken apart Claudia Gadelha and Tecia Torres, like there's nobody else in the conversation.
In pretty different ways too, which is super impressive.
And I don't know how long Jędrzejczyk's going to stay in that division, but if she does, it would be great to see these three just like trade off fights as a trilogy of great talent at the top.
You kind of have to, though, honestly, because no one's getting through there. There's no.
But if you have three elite fighters who can all contend for the belt, like that's enough to just make cool fights forever. I'm fine with that. That
sounds great, but look at flyweight, the men's flyweight division. It's like
but that's like one amazing talent, and then a bunch of guys below him who just can't get over at all. We've already seen the amazing strawweight talent go down, so we know. Like, I mean, if Henry Cejudo could beat Demetrius Johnson and Sergio Pettis could beat Henry Cejudo, that would be cool. Like, that would be a cool thing to watch, but
it's true.
Yeah. We haven't got it yet. I'm just excited because I like seeing that kind of elite talent come to the surface at strawweight.
I mean, you got Benavidez. He's like an unbeatable guy.
Yeah, true. Benavidez would be the other one. All right. Before that, Ilir Latifi beat Ovin St. Preux. And
this was awesome. This was absolutely fucking awesome. You had Latifi, who was actually kind of stuck on the outside.
Yeah.
Until he wasn't.
I was shocked he was able to close the distance that early in the fight. Like, I knew he would land at some point, but I thought it'd be a lot harder for him to get all the way in on OSP.
But man, when he did, he made the most of it. He made it count, dropped OSP with a heavy hook and just went bananas. He dropped him a second time and just he didn't let him off the hook. He synced up this really tight standing guillotine, and unfortunately the ref was at a position to where he didn't see the tap, so OSP got put to sleep. And like standing asleep. So he fell like a sack of potatoes just.
Yeah. It's long-term karma coming back for all those dudes he's put to sleep with the Von Flue choke, who all had ended up looking like rookie white belts under him. And now it's like, yeah, you're gonna get put out in the standing guillotine. That's just the karma coming back around.
It is. And how about Latifi calling out Daniel Cormier in his post-fight interview? I love it. I thought it was respectful. Yeah. And you know what? OSP put on the classic OSP top 5 gatekeeper performance. Latifi passed the test. You know, I understand that DC is about to fight Stipe, but you know what? I'm fine waiting. And after that, then give Latifi the matchup. You know, why the fuck not?
It just sucks at light heavyweight that Jimmy Manuwa, Ilir Latifi, and Alexander Gustafsson all train together and all won't fight each other because they're all friends, and they're like 3 of the top 5 light heavyweights in the world.
Yeah. Team Alpha Male is kind of having the same problem at featherweight. They got a whole bunch of guys like in the top 15 or gunning right there. Chad Mendez coming back. Like, I don't know. Yeah. That's a problem. An MMA
it's a problem, especially at light heavyweight, where there's nobody rising quickly up the ranks to replace any of these people.
Yeah, it's such a stagnant and stale division full of placekeepers.
It being stagnant and stale does make me happy that Latifi won, because he's the dude who's fought literally almost nobody in the top 10, unlike OSP, who's fought pretty much everybody except Daniel Cormier.
He did fight Ryan Bader.
Yeah, but Ryan Bader's not there anymore.
I'm so cool with him getting the title shot next.
And I mean, I don't think he'll jump the line on Gustafsson, but he might.
Gustafsson, man, that guy still fights. Are you kidding me?
He's just sitting and waiting for that title shot to come around.
He hasn't fought since May of last year. Like, I don't even.
Yeah.
What? At this point, I'm okay if he gets skipped.
He might. He's already lost to DC once, but nonetheless, I'm just happy to see Latifi win. Somebody win a fight at light heavyweight that puts them in a position to get more interesting fights, rather than OSP winning and being like, okay, well, which OSP fight do we get to see again?
Oh man, poor OSP.
Yeah, maybe they can rebook him in that Shogun rematch now that they've been wanting.
They've been trying to do that so many times now. Does Shogun even fight anymore? Like, what is this?
All right, before that, Max Griffin beat Mike Perry, and 100% all credit to Max Griffin for watching Mike Perry and watching him lose and being like, oh, okay, that's how you beat Mike Perry. I can do that.
Yeah, I mean, and it was Griffin had the medicine. You know, he came out and was dinking Perry up early, bloodied him up really quickly. His cross is it was just the medicine here. He kept landing it. And it's funny. I was watching the vivisection for this, and you were like, Max Griffin throws a jab cross, and then a cross, and then might throw a jab cross.
Yeah.
And like, I'm like, that's pretty accurate. But that's actually like exactly what you need to do to defeat the style of Mike Perry. You need
it's what you need to do if you're actually going to stay on your back foot and move away from him and like pick moments to throw it really pick specific moments, which I didn't think Max Griffin could do, because in the past, most of what he's done is just kind of rush in and rush in and rush in and rush in and been pretty predictable about how he entered.
Yeah, he looked fucking great out there. Like, even physically, he's looked the best he's looked in his career. And I have to attribute it to his quitting the full-time job and focusing everything on fighting.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we've seen a lot lately, is fighters who seemed like they were just kind of stuck in this mediocre, oh, you've got some interesting talent, but you're not developing in any meaningful way. And then suddenly they're being able to go full-time, and you're like, oh wait, there's all the skill jump we've been waiting for out of you for a couple of years now. And for Griffin, this may be that. He had time to scout an opponent, time to prepare for an opponent, and he came out and
he wanted this fight. Like, Max wanted this since the athlete retreat way back when.
Yeah.
So this is he asked for this, and a lot of people counted him out. He was the largest betting underdog coming into this.
Yeah.
But and going back to how you said, he's all about his jab cross. When he finally threw a left hook, it actually dropped Perry.
Yeah.
It might have been the only hook that I really saw, but Max looked sharp, man. And this sets him up for another big fight.
Yeah. And for Perry, he's got to start taking real stock of his career and being a little more mindful. I feel like he's happy to get thrown into these wars that he keeps getting dinged up in. And the UFC is happy to put him in these wars because they're going to run him into the ground and get whatever they can out of him until he's done. And, you see over in his corner, like, yeah, he's moved to ATT Orlando where Jacare is training, but who else is training there but Jacare? Who's coaching ATT Orlando? I have no idea. It's not the main ATT branch.
It's not.
And his corner is his girlfriend and Alex Nicholson. And it's just like at some point, you need to really connect with a good coach who can steer you technically well and maybe take a little more consideration into not jumping into every striking war that the UFC wants to throw at you.
Perry, though, he had his moment down the stretch.
Yeah.
He really went for it and really got aggressive and applied the pressure, but Max was savvy enough to just not get taken out and weather the storm and walk away with the decision.
Yeah, I'm still a little weirded out that a judge gave Griffin that third round. That was
yeah, that's crazy.
That's crazy. But it shows that even like late in fights, like Perry's in shape enough, he's got the ability if he can apply it right, but that feels like then you don't want your bro and your girlfriend in your corner. You want somebody who can be like, no, look, this is how you should apply yourself at this moment to take advantage of these holes in your opponent's game, not break his leg, put him on the fence. Like, that's all they were screaming at him.
Put him in a body bag. Yeah, man, Perry just had such a slow start and wasn't moving his head out there. He was really flat-footed and just there to be dinked.
Before that, Brian Kelleher beat Hanan Barao, and man, if this just didn't feel like exactly the Hanan Barao loss I saw coming, which like he comes out, he looks good, he's outlanding Brian Kelleher, he still looks technical, you're like, Barao's got the opportunities, he's a much more technical fighter out there, and then he gets hit by one hard overhand, and suddenly you can see he's just like wide-eyed, got his hands up. And he recovered. He fought back. He stayed in this fight and fought every minute of it. But after that, it's just constantly there in his mind, like, I can't get dinged up. If I get hit hard, all the worry just floods right back, and I start shutting down again.
Yeah, he's honestly lucky this went to a decision because he was really out on his feet there at the end of the fight.
At the end, Kelleher was still hitting Kelleher, but Kelleher could see he was done and he was broken and just was marching him down with shot after shot late in the fight. So
Kelleher's boxing looked phenomenal. Like, he was out there moving his head, taking his head off the center line as he strikes, like weaving into his combinations. I love seeing stuff like that. It's like the opposite of what Mike Perry was doing in that fight.
Great win for Kelleher. Sets him up for another good fight. He called out John Lineker. I don't think he can win that fight, but I'd be happy to watch him try.
I'd be happy to see that sort of pressure boxing style go at John Lineker. But the takedowns there also for Kelleher. So that adds a little intrigue to the match.
Kelleher has classically been a hyper-aggressive wrestle boxer who's willing to who goes out, throws power to lead to a power takedown to lead to ground and pound. So I'd be happy to see him in that fight. And for Barao, I mean, man, I hope people who know him are having a heart-to-heart with him and are like, dude, this is the worst loss of your career. You need to look in the mirror and be like, I'm not losing to top title contenders anymore. Like, I'm not losing to the cream of the crop anymore. I'm losing to dudes on their way up. And how long do I want to do that? Maybe that's what's best for him. I don't know. You never know with fighters. Maybe Barao, the UFC classically love to trumpet like, our champion does his laundry in his sink. It's like, yeah, that's fucking sad. So
that's really sad, actually. But Barao is on a really bad skid and just has not looked the same since losing the title.
No.
Granted, this was a move back down to 135, but it really didn't make a difference. He's the same guy, the same. You just crack him once, and he's still in it. Like, he was even in the third round late. He's got his back to the fence. He's still swinging with bad intentions. Barao is. Like he's still trying to win the fight, but there's just so many moments of just him. I don't want to say just looking fearful, but just like super defensive. Like,
yeah, you can tell that he's got getting knocked out on his mind. That he's getting hurt, and then he's like, "Oh God, here it goes." Like I gotta find a way to stop this because the slide is starting. And
he's only won twice since losing the belt.
Yep. And they were in fights where, Mitch Gagnon, who has fought really inconsistently and has looked worse himself after long layoffs, and then Philippe Nover, who just is not good at pressuring people consistently with offense.
And Barao didn't even look good in that Nover fight.
Before that, Marion Renault beat Sarah McMahon, and man, what a stereotypical, just like I was talking about with the Darren Elkins and Michael Johnson fight. This is such a stereotypical Marion Renault Sarah McMahon fight. McMahon comes out, looks good. She's throwing power. She gets her takedowns. Renault pulling guard, making all sorts of mistakes, looking like she can't pull the trigger. Dominant 10-8 round for McMahon. Then comes out in round 2 and gets clipped, and everything just collapses, just in a heap right there.
I think Renault has a gift for catching the triangle. Like,
off her back, she's got a legit. That's part of the problem. Like, why she's a willing guard player who can just lose rounds is because she's got a good ground game. It's just having a good guard game doesn't. It's a really specific skill that only is going to win you so many fights at an elite level.
Yeah, McMahon looked so good there in the first round too. She looked good on the feet. She was setting up her takedown. She had that crucifix there at the end of the first. It's like, man, this is dominant.
Mm-hmm.
And then she just like brain farts. And we've seen that before from her.
Yep.
She just has these crazy lapses in judgment, and it just really serves her not well.
Yeah.
And I don't get it.
She got hit hard in this, so that's definitely part of it. But when Renault had that triangle locked up, McMahon had a hand in. Like, she had not only her arm and all that, but she had a hand in between the legs to create space, and she could not find any way to turn that into actual triangle defense. She just kind of sat there and stayed there until Renault found a way to tighten it up tighter and tighter and finish it.
Yeah. And I swear we see this from McMahon so much when she gets in these positions.
Yep.
It's like, you're a hoss. Power out of this. Power bomb her, something.
Yeah.
But you just kind of hang out there and just wait for them to submit you.
Yeah.
It's not a good look, but it's a great look for Renault, who is battling father time right now. So if she's making any sort of attempt to make a run, which she's vocal about, now is the time for sure. She's
calling for a title shot, and I know they've got Pennington booked for the next one, but after Pennington, why the fuck not? Somebody. I was like, who else? And people was like, oh, what about the winner of Ketlin Vieira versus Kat Zingano? And it's just like, I guess,
Yeah.
Like, is that really a better argument than Marion Renault? No, it's an argument, but it's not a better one.
Nah. I mean, trust me, I love me some Kat Zingano. Believe me. But yeah, I don't know. I think Renault, now's the time. Like, why not? The division's, it's stale as fuck.
Yeah, I mean, Kat Zingano hasn't fought since she lost to Juliana Pena in 2016, which was her only fight since losing to Ronda Rousey in 2015. So the idea that a win over Ketlin Vieira would get her a title shot, or a win over her would get Ketlin Vieira a title shot. Okay, why?
Well, Ketlin's undefeated. So
Ketlin is undefeated.
She's got a little bit of an argument there.
There's no reason to rush that. It's not. That division isn't like, oh no, if Ketlin stays around, she might get caught out by Betch Correia.
But I mean, and another thing is Ketlin's coming off of that Sarah McMahon submission win. So
true. But if beating Sarah McMahon means that much, then shit, it might as well mean that much for somebody else. Like, I don't know. It's just not. I'd be happy with Renault getting it while she's still in the game. Before that, Angela Hill beat Marina Moroz. Solid judging in this. I mean, I'm usually all the one to argue for volume. For volume should win when you can't discern the difference of like damage. But I thought it was pretty clear that Hill was landing the better strikes for most of this fight.
Yeah, she was definitely busier. She struggled there. Like this, I think the second round was a bit of a toss-up.
Yeah.
Hill was doing really well early when she had the energy to let off her volume. But like she was landing a lot of overhand rights. But Moroz made the adjustment there in the second and started making Hill respect the distance. And she was throwing these long-range kicks. Not even throwing them. She was spamming them. Like nonstop, these long-range probing, like up kicks and teep kicks. And they were actually really effective. And Hill was struggling at that point. Like as Hill started to slow down, those kicks started coming in. So she really struggled for the second half of this fight. But I think she did land heavily on the feet early on to do enough to get the decision.
At least according to fight metrics. So maybe I don't have to revise my criteria that it's totally arbitrary and just mine. But she actually, by fight metric stats, she outlanded Moroz in every round.
Really? Even in the third there?
Even in the third, 48-41.
Yeah, I think I gave Moroz the third round. I thought she did enough there to get I scored at 29-28 for Hill.
Yeah, I mean I scored it 30-27 for Hill, actually. I thought she squeaked out every round. But
I'm not mad at that.
No. Either way, it just kind of shows what we kind of knew going in, that Hill has problems maintaining her style over time. She starts fast and slows down because she has such a high energy style that she doesn't have the cardio for, and that Moroz just doesn't land nearly enough to make the difference and win tough rounds. That's really all it is. She throws a ton, but she's landing at such a low percentage that it just doesn't matter.
Hill's fun too, so I'm glad she got the nod here, and she'll probably get another ranked opponent, which I also like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad to see Hill stick around, if nothing else, just because she's taken every tough fight she can get, basically, and ended up with some tough losses for her because of it. But it's good to see her getting wins now. Before that, Alan Jouban beat Ben Saunders. Fun ass fight, no question. Sad for the bloody elbow faithful. We're sad to see Ben Saunders lose, especially getting knocked out that cold, getting Nell marked. Man, that sucks. But at the same time, a fun ass fight, and Saunders was high-fiving people and seemed happy leaving the arena. So whatever, I guess I can't see.
Isn't he a ATT Orlando affiliate?
Ben Saunders?
Yeah.
Is he these days? I guess he is. Yeah, he's an AT2 Orlando guy. So.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough loss. We love Ben Saunders. He's a great dude. Big fan of the Wu-Tang Clan, as am I. But he was just really out polished here. Jouban was really just tuning him up, and credit to Saunders for being tough and luring Jouban into a war. I mean, come round two, this turned into a brawl. An all-out brawl.
Saunders definitely got Jouban to fight the fights where Saunders could be most dangerous. He got him to get into the clinch and step into the clinch and trade shots, give Saunders a chance to land his power. And he caught Jouban sleeping way outside a few times with long punches and long kicks. But Jouban's just faster and is more coordinated, and that won out in almost every exchange.
Yeah, it was, sad to see because I'm a Saunders fan, but also nice to see that from Jouban. Well, outside of getting lured into the brawl, that's not a good look.
No.
But the fact that he was still able to win the way he won and land the strikes that he landed. I mean, they were his shot selection was on point. Like it was a beautiful win for him. And, I think the leg kicks were a big factor in this.
Leg kicks were a huge factor. And, it was a good reminder that Jouban is just as technical in the clinch as anybody. Like, you know,
Because that's where Saunders wanted to get him, and he got him there, but Joban was ready for it.
Yep. So fun fight, really fun to watch. Tough loss for, a dude we're a fan of, but like I said, he seemed happy afterwards. So what can I tell? Who am I to say that to be depressed about that?
I mean, yeah, he's a warrior. He went out on the shields, nothing to hang his head about. He gave it his all, gutsy performance.
For that, Marcin Prachnio seemed to watch all of the tape of dudes who lose to Sam Alvey and was like, man, I'm going to try that shit.
Oh, man. Honestly, he was just, hate to say it, but he was just completely outgunned here and had absolutely nothing for Alvey outside of some early wall install. And it really makes me question his caliber. Is he UFC material? Because on the feet, he was looking like Keith Jardine on a severe caffeine kick, like I hate when I see that in the UFC. It's like, if I understand specialists and like people who have like their area, but when they're severely underprepared in another area, I don't think they're UFC caliber.
Yeah. I mean, the UFC, they just need more. They need every light heavyweight dude they can get. And Prachnio, he's been winning. It's not like he didn't have the record to get there. But it's just light heavyweight is paper thin, especially around the rest of the world. And he mostly won regionally by being bigger and hitting harder than his opponents.
That ain't happening in the UFC.
Yeah. Alvey, didn't look smaller than him and is a great counterpuncher. So being a dude who just rushes at your opponent, like, he was just dialed up for that counter.
Man, so he rushes in, he gets dropped with this counter check right hook, and then does the same fucking thing again and gets knocked out. It's like, dude, it's
like, the thing is,
shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
It's not like Sam Alvey's a great counterpuncher in that he's got this wild, deep arsenal of counters that he can catch you with from anywhere. No, he has one counterpunch that he throws if you set up to give him that one counterpunch. And Prachnio was just like, why not? Let me just walk in with my hands down and we'll see what happens.
Man, I got to place him at the lower end of the light heavyweight spectrum.
Losing
to a guy moving up, getting knocked out by a guy moving up from middleweight is not a good look.
Yeah.
But Sam Alvey, credit to him for looking good at 205. And the best part of this, aside from a cool knockout, is the fact that Alvey got on the mic and was like, hey, Daniel Cormier, I'm not saying, but I'm saying I move up to 205. You leave 205 to go fight a heavyweight. I'm just saying.
And credit to DC for rolling with that.
Good times.
And then he called out John Vellante, which, I actually am totally cool with that because Vellante is another dude who will just walk in with the same couple combinations over and over again every single minute of every round of the fight and set himself up to get drilled by a hard counter hook. I mean,
yep. But also capable of landing hard hooks of his own.
Yeah.
Almost like a freak show fight. All his bouts are freak show fights.
Yeah. So I would actually be happy to watch that. Just don't match Sam Alvey up with anybody who is afraid of getting knocked out, please, because that means they're on their back foot, and Sam Alvey has only one counter punch he throws, and it becomes
or counter punchers too. I don't want to see Alvey fighting any counter fighters.
Yeah, no counter fighters. Nobody who's afraid of getting knocked out. Nobody who's like just kind of like a good wrestler. Really, only dudes who are just willing to walk in on him with the same couple combinations over and over.
Yeah, what's old Sassafras doing? Who's that guy that Vellante embarrassed, the Nerd Bash? He just lost to someone. Safardine.
Oh, no.
Safarov.
Oh, yeah, Saperbek Safarov.
Yes.
Yeah, he just lost to Tyson Pedro.
Yeah.
Shit, that'd be a fun fight.
I need him to fight Sam Alvey. I don't care about the wins and the losses. Yeah. That needs to happen soon.
That's exactly the caliber of opponent I want to see Sam Alvey against.
Yeah, but actually, that's probably a good matchup for what's his face here?
Braccio? Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's like Jeremy Kimball. There are dudes at the bottom of that division that can go to war with Marcin Prachnio.
I think Kimball might even tune him up too.
He might, but he's like the most unathletic light heavyweight in the history of unathletic light heavyweights.
I don't know. The guys we have just been talking about really like.
Jeremy Kimball is like, you know, his training regime is like edibles and and then like capoeira videos.
But
like,
Safarov did kick Volante and hurt himself, you know, like to the point of grabbing his own shin.
All right. For that, Ronnie Yaya beat Russell Doan, and what a miserable fucking fight from Russell Doan, man.
Did you expect something different?
I did. I thought he actually looked hard to take down against Mirsad Bektic, who's way bigger than him and more powerful. And then I thought he did a pretty good job of staying like composed against Kwan Ho Kwok. And I thought if he could stay composed and be hard to take down, he could do well against Ronnie Yaya. Instead, he had zero composure and got himself taken down at every single opportunity and moment available, and then even eventually decided to try to grapple with Ronnie Yaya and take him down. And it was like he landed zero strikes through a round and a half. The first strike Russell Doan landed was halfway through round 2 when he went like this and started punching Ronnie Yaya from back position.
And he got caught in that reverse full Nelson there in the first round.
Cow catcher, yes.
That is hilarious. I mean, Yaya, his mother passed away right before this fight. So, I mean, I knew he was coming in with the fury. And, like, the way he just kind of grabs your leg and doesn't let go, I felt like Doan was going to struggle with that. And Doan he's the guy that gets submitted often. So I kind of thought he was going to get submitted here. And I'm kind of surprised it took Yaya as long as he did. Yeah. Considering how dominant he was throughout, you know. Doan didn't have a single moment in this fight. He looked absolutely terrible. Great win, though, for Yaya. He was dominant as can be, you know, and he's on a 6-1 run right now, which is absolutely awesome. So kudos to him, and our thoughts go out to him and his family.
Yep. He shelved K1 Yaya, which is a tragedy for fight fans watching at home, but a good thing for his career.
A great thing for his career and a great showing. Like this dude, he's a problem.
He always will be. I mean, he's always been just this kind of weird little unathletic cobra or, you know, boa constrictor problem in that division where you're like, this guy can't do anything to me. Get off my leg. Wait, why am I falling over? Oh God, and then tapping out.
Yeah, I'm like slowly becoming like a big fan of him. You know,
I know. Like, I love those dudes who have like a weirdly broken game that works for one reason and no others. He's nice. Totally that guy.
And on the flip side of his 6-1 run, Doan is on a 1-5 skid.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. His decision making is tragically bad, and it was just out in spades for this fight. For that, Alex Perez beat Eric Shelton. Another tough loss setback for Shelton, and really a lack of a deep wrestling and grappling game at flyweight continues to plague him. He can keep up with people, but he can't win the scrambles and he can't win the battles enough to win fights.
Nope. This whole fight was a grind, and it always surprises me at flyweight.
Yeah, you know? It's a rare thing at flyweight.
I think that has to do with Shelton. You know, I just think he's not athletic enough for flyweight and doesn't exactly have the technical edge to compensate for that lack of physicality, and this is the worst division for that. So, you know, he's now 1-3. It's not a good look.
No.
You know? Perez did miss weight for this, but I think it was kind of a legit reason.
Yeah, he was delayed at the airport, stuck there, and couldn't cut on the plan he'd already set out. And, you know, I don't think it reflects overly poorly on him.
Nah, I don't fault him for it, but, you know, solid grinding performance, nice pressure throughout, and, you know, he did enough to get the win here. Just solid showing. And
he looks, I know I've talked about, like, he called out Ronaldo Sanchez. Or is it Ronaldo? It's Roberto Sanchez. And I'm interested in that fight, but I've sort of dinged Roberto Sanchez for having a control wrestle grappling game at flyweight, which I don't think necessarily works all that well because most guys can't be controlled that well. But to Perez's credit, he actually looks like his setups are really technical. He's going through like the ride he was putting on Shelton, the way he changed his takedown attempts, things like that. It's more than just like getting to a position and clinging to it. It's a pretty technical control wrestling game that I'm interested to see how it plays. Because
yeah, I mean, he even did decent on the feet too. Like he landed some nice punches, and actually he was forcing the shot, which I think is great.
Yep. So good, solid performance from him in a division that needs all the dudes who can string wins together it can find. And before that, to open the card, Manny Bermudez beat Albert Morales, who had a very Russell Doan-like performance of just being totally incapable of getting out of his own way. Like, he nearly knocked Manny Bermudez out cold twice in this fight. Once with his shoulder. Bermudez just, like, ran into his shoulder and just, like, you could see the lights go out and he dropped for a second. And then he, like, gets back up and goes after him. And you just, like... And then Morales is like, you know what? I need to go back to grappling with this dude. That's where the fight's at. Man, what are you doing?
It's crazy, man. Morales had him, dude. He knew what he had to do. He just, for whatever reason, he could not control the distance. And once the gap was closed, it was a wrap. The discrepancy in grappling capabilities was just, it was glaring at that point. And what are you going to do? Morales, he let this dude in the UFC who has, insanely huge striking gaps in his defense that is going to be a major problem that really needs to be addressed ASAP, like ASAP.
Yeah.
But it's not like, I don't know. I think it's not as bad to where I don't feel like he's not UFC caliber. I definitely think he's UFC caliber. Obviously, he got the win, but that's a major concern here, like a major concern.
He's very obviously and clearly an incredibly crafty and venomous grappler, the kind of dude where you give him a tiny opening and he will turn it into a fight-threatening submission.
Yeah.
And he can then chain that to other submissions and do it from any position. You get top control. He'll be able to hit the sweep and be on top of you, shutting you down in a second flat. So there are areas of the fight that Manny Bermudez is always going to make, really dangerous for opponents. But on the feet, mostly he watches his work a lot when he strikes. So he'll throw a hand out there and then he'll kind of like wait to see what happens. And what happens is he gets hit really hard.
I think part of that is the watching is him looking for an opening to attack.
Yeah.
Because the way he scored that submission was actually on the feet. Just like he saw his moment and just wrapped up the head and jumped the guillotine. So that might be part of it. But at this level, that's Russian roulette.
Yeah. So it was a fun fight, fun win for Bermudez. Interesting to see how he can mold that style going forward and what he can do against opposition.
Pro for 32 months.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Just starting, young kid. Ton of experience for somebody who's only been fighting for a little while, been fighting every 2 months for his whole career basically already. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he can do with that against, people who can maintain their range and who are not going to just walk into the clinch with him or walk into, shoot in on him or let him pull guard and then follow him to the ground.
Yeah, there's some heavy hitters at bantamweight.
Yeah.
Overall,
this card had a lot of fun to it. It just didn't have anything to differentiate it from the FS1 card we saw last week from Cerrone Medeiros card. Like, both good quality cards. They're just also, cards that don't, like, there's nothing to differentiate a fun fight night Fox FS1 card and a fun Fox card right now.
Just like the last Fox card, so that's actually on par as the new trend, I suppose. However, there was the new Tale of the Tape graphic, which I felt was long overdue. So
very, very long overdue. That was nice.
At least there's that.
Yeah. All told, a lot of fun action fights. still not a lot of, still no big narratives from it other than Jessica Andrade really showing up and looking like she can dominate everyone in that division, not named Joanna Jędrzejczyk and potentially Rose Namajunas. And so,
and Latifi getting through the gate at top 5.
And Latifi getting through the gate, which is still pretty minor because he will eventually have to face somebody like Daniel Cormier.
Yeah,
but
even Max Griffin getting through Mike Perry is kind of a big deal. Like that's a big win.
Yeah, you're a Max Griffin fan, so
what?
All right. On that note, you can find me on Twitter at TheZaneTime, and you can find Eddie on Twitter at TheEddieMercado. You can find both of us over at BloodyElbow.com. Give us a like. That's a thumbs up thing down there on YouTube, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, MMANation.com. That's where you get the latest shows we do week in, week out. We'll be back next week for UFC 222, Cyborg versus Kunitskaya, and Edgar versus Ortega. A 2-fight pay-per-view card, but they're 2 fights that I'm really looking forward to, and so, you know, that's kind of the new reality we're in. You can't look at a pay-per-view card and be like, oh, top to bottom, it's going to be huge. It's like, nah, it's got a couple cool fights and probably some action bouts on it. So we'll be back with If I Did It and Care Don't Care and Heavy Hands and the Vivisection and all that stuff we do every time. So thanks, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.